Hello students. So far you have studied about the male and female reproductive organs in the flowering plants and the formation of the gametes. Since the gametes are non-motile, they have to be brought together for fertilization. Pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. Immobile pollen grains are shed from the anthers. They may reach the stigma. And flowering plants have evolved various adaptations to achieve pollination. Depending on the source of pollination can be of three types: autogamy, geitonogamy, and xenogamy. We'll see about the first one, autogamy or self-pollination. Auto means self, gamos means marriage. In autogamy, the flower is pollinated by its own pollen grains, that is, the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same flower. It is possible when the flower is bisexual. Examples are wheat, rice, pea. Complete autogamy is very rare in a normal bisexual flower, and autogamy needs complete synchronization of pollen release and stigma maturity. That is, at the same time the anthers are released and the stigma should be mature, and the stigma should lie close to the anthers so that self-pollination can occur. There are exceptions also. In plants like Oxalis, Commelina, and Viola, two types of flowers are produced: chasmogamous and cleistogamous flowers. In chasmogamous flowers, the anther and stigma are exposed, means the flower opens. But in cleistogamous flowers, which do not open at all, the flower remains in the bud stage, and in them the anthers and the stigma lie close to each other. As the anthers open, the pollen grains will fall on the stigma. In cleistogamous flower, show autogamy only, and there is no chance of cross pollination in them as these flowers are closed. So the cleistogamous flowers are in the bud stage itself, and the pollen grains the anthers release the pollen grains in the bud itself, and it will fall on the stigma. Now the second type, that is geitonogamy, means marriage between neighbors. The pollen grains are transferred from the anther to the stigma of another flower which is on the same plant. The pollen grains come from the same plant, so it is similar to self-pollination or autogamy. The flowers could be bisexual or unisexual, but formed on the same plant, and here a pollinating agent is required. Now in the third type, that is xenogamy or cross pollination, means marriage between strangers. It is a transfer of pollen grains from the anther of one plant to the stigma of another plant of the same species. It involves two separate plants. Xenogamy leads to genetic variations due to recombinations. Autogamy results in weaker offsprings generation after generations. So no new varieties can be produced. Xenogamy leads to new varieties of plants. Adaptability of the plant to their environment is much better, and xenogamy depends on external agencies which may lead to wastage of pollens. The next topic is about the agents of pollination. Plants need to have some agents of pollination, and the agents could be abiotic or biotic. Abiotic agents are like wind, water, and the biotic agents are the animals, including insects, birds, flies, bats. Only a small portion of plants use abiotic agents. Majority of the plants use biotic agents. Pollen grains coming in contact with the stigma is a matter of chance in abiotic agents. So a large amount of pollen grains are produced to compensate for the loss of the pollen grains. Now we will see about the abiotic pollinators. First one is the wind pollination, which is called as anemophily. This is the most common among the abiotic pollination. Examples are coconut palm, date palm, maize, walnut, grass. They show wind pollination, and the plants literally fill the air with pollen grains when the stamens mature. The pollens are carried to very far away places by wind. Anemophilous flowers show various modifications. The flowers are very small and inconspicuous. The stamens are long, hang outside the flower to help in the release of pollens. The stigmas are large, leathery, and well exposed. Pollen grains are produced in large quantity due to high wastage, and the pollen grains are small, smooth, dry, and light in weight. The inflorescence may hang downwards to ensure that the pollen grains drop away from the plant and carried by the wind. The flowers may have a single ovule in each ovary, and the flowers may be as an inflorescence in case of maize. The next is water pollination or hydrophily. Hydrophily is shown by plants like Vallisneria, Hydrilla, Ceratophyllum, water hyacinth, water lily. Not all aquatic plants use water for pollination. In aquatic plants like water lily, water hyacinth, the flowers emerge above the water level and are pollinated by insects or wind. But in Vallisneria, the plant is a dioecious one, that is a male plant and female plants are separate, and these plants are submerged ones. The male flowers are very small and they get detached from the male plant and they float on the surface. The female flowers remain floating on long stalks, and the free floating male flowers reach the female flower by water currents and pollinate them. After pollination, the long stalk of the female flower coils and brings the flower down and develop into fruit under the water. In some other water pollinating plants like sea grasses, the female flowers remain submerged in water and the pollen grains are released inside the water. In Zostera, another water plant, the pollen grains are elongated, needle like, and without the outer exine. The pollen grains are carried by water, and when they reach the stigma, they coil around it and germinate. The next is the pollination by biotic agents, that is, the bees, butterflies, beetles, ants, moths, birds, bats. Out of these animals, insects are the dominant biotic pollinating agents. Insect pollination is called entomophily, and the flowers are modified in a number of ways to attract the insects to enable cross pollination. Various modifications in the flowers are like the flowers are generally large, but they are brightly colored. The petals are brightly colored so that the insects get attracted. The flowers are scented and they do have nectar. The pollen grains are large, may have spiny or sticky walls to get attached to the insects. Some flowers like jasmine, rose have strong fragrance to attract insects. Some flowers give foul smell to attract the beetles and flies. The flowers which bloom at night are generally white in color and have very strong smell to attract moths for pollination. Insect pollinating flowers produce less pollen, and some flowers resembles the insects in their shape and color. Bird pollination, pollination by the birds, which is called as ornithophily. And here in these plants where the pollination is done by the birds, the flowers are brightly colored, red, yellow colors are there in the flowers. The birds visit these flowers for nectar, and there are certain structural modifications in the flowers. The corollas are tubular and the stigmas are sticky. For example, bottle brush, cotton tree, there you will find this kind of modifications. Then the pollination by bats, which is called as chiropterophily, and in these plants, the flowers bloom at night, large flowers with plenty of nectar, and they do have a strong fruity odor. And the stamens are prominent with a large amount of pollen grains. Examples are banana, mango. To sustain animal visits, the flowers have to provide rewards to the animals. Nectar, pollen grains are the usual rewards. In some flowers, a special relationship exists between the plant and the insect. Example, in Amorphophallus, the tallest flower provides a safe place for the insects to lay their eggs. In the plant Yucca, and a species of moth cannot complete their life cycle without each other. The moth deposits the eggs in the ovary of the flower, and the flower gets pollinated by the moth, and the larvae comes out of the eggs as the seeds start developing. Now we'll see the significance of pollination. Pollination leads to the fertilization and formation of fruits and seeds. The fruits and seeds help in the continuity of the plant life. They are also a source of nutrition or food for animals. And cross pollination leads to variations and combination of characters from the two plants. Majority of the flowering plants produce bisexual or hermaphrodite flowers. So pollen grains come in contact with the stigma of the same flower. It has been observed that continuous self-pollination results in inbreeding depression, and the plants become weaker over the generations. Hence, many flowering plants with the bisexual flowers have developed a number of strategies to discourage self-pollination and to encourage cross-pollination. This is called outbreeding devices. The flowers in some plants are modified partially or fully to prevent self-pollination. We'll see some of the adaptations that favor cross-pollination. The first one is unisexuality. That means the plants produce unisexual flowers. Male and female flowers are present on the same plant, that is monoecious plants, or on different plants, that is dioecious. Then the second adaptation is dichogamy. The plants in a bisexual flower, the anthers and the stigma mature at different times. When the stigma matures and become receptive before the anthers of the same flower, which is called as protogyny, example is banyan tree, and when the anthers mature before the stigma, it is called as protoandry, sunflower and marigold. Then the third adaptation is heterostyle. In some plants, the anthers and the stigma are placed at different positions so that the pollen cannot come in contact with the stigma of the same flower. That is, the flowers with different lengths of style and stigma and the anthers. Now the fourth device is self-sterility or self-incompatibility. It is the inability of the gametes to fuse, and it is a genetic mechanism that prevents self-pollen from fertilizing the ovules by inhibiting pollen germination or pollen tube growth in the pistil. Self-sterility is very common in orchids, grass. Self-incompatibility involves complex mechanisms involving interaction of pollen and stigmatic tissues. It is due to prevention of some physiological or morphological mechanisms. In some other plants, the genes work in the pollen grains. As the pollen tube grows through the style, the growth stops before it reaches the embryo sac. Self-incompatibility acts as a natural barrier in the fusion of gametes from the flowers of the same plant, thereby promoting outcrossing, which leads to genetic diversity. Pollination means the transfer of the pollen to the stigma of a flower. Often incompatible pollen can land on the stigma. But pistil has the ability to recognize the pollen, whether it is compatible or incompatible. If the compatible pollen falls on the pistil, pistil accepts the pollen and promotes the post fertilization events. If the incompatible pollen falls on the pistil rejects the pollen and prevents the pollen germination and growth of the pollen tube. Pollen pistil interaction is due to the chemical components of the pollen interacting with the chemical components of the pistil. Thank you.